Well, that new Zelda game sure is tearing up the charts, eh? Yeah, it's one of the most popular video games ever. It's even outselling Hogwarts Legacy in box sales, that from the United Kingdom. Unbelievable considering that Hogwarts Legacy is likely to end up in the top 5 games of all time. Well, what would you say if I told you that it's almost certain now that a Zelda expansion is coming to Islands of Adventure, the Universal Studios park in Florida? And what would you say if I told you that I've got some rather juicy details? I think you're going to enjoy this very much. Universal is bringing it to the Walt Disney World Resort, and Disney may actually be defeated. All right, folks, we are here to explain entertainment, keep you ahead of the culture curve. It's a great pleasure to be with all of you today. Hope you are out there making the lives of others better. It's a great thing to be doing. If you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, and you can stick it to those algorithms. When you click it, we're talking about that notification bell. Today, we're going to be looking at some information regarding the Walt Disney World Resort. You may have heard that the parks have largely been keeping Disney afloat for the past few years, and, well, that's largely been true. Disney has made some very poor decisions, and their box office numbers have not been good. Now we're finding out that those box office numbers, as well as Disney Plus subscription rates, are likely to struggle for at least the next 2 quarters. Disney is in a whole world of trouble. But the stalwart defenders of the company, the parks, they're showing weakness now, and that should terrify everybody in the C-suite over in Burbank. This out of the DisneyTouristBlog.com, Tom Bricker, the author, slowest 6-week stretch for Disney World crowds since 2021. As I said, folks, it's not looking good. Here's the article. And by the way, this is in the description for this video. Go click on it. This is a fantastic article. Now, you've heard me criticize some articles, right? This is tremendously well researched. This is what we would wish every article looked like. It says it's been over a month since spring break season ended at Walt Disney World, and the unofficial start of summer 2023 is 1 week away. This post shares recent wait times data, crowd context, what's likely to happen next with attendance levels, and more. Goes on to say, this is essentially a continuation of the post-spring break attendance trends we first shared in sharp shoulder season slowdown at Walt Disney World and low pre-summer crowds at Walt Disney World. It says during the company's latest earnings call, Chief Financial Officer Christine McCarthy, a.k.a. the real Ursula, warned of a slowdown at Walt Disney World in the coming quarters to soften the blow to investors. The company also announced 5 major improvements for 2024 at Walt Disney World to help entice bookings for next year. Funny they didn't announce they were going to close the Galactic Star Cruiser at that, though, huh? Funny that. Well, let's take a look at this. We've got this graph here coming out of thrilldata.com, and you can see the chart showing since the beginning of 2022 where these levels have been. And wouldn't you know it, if we look right here at the very end, we should be going into summer. We should be going into a time when the numbers are going up, and we are actually at some of the lowest crowd levels we have seen really since the pandemic era. I mean, you've got to go back into the pandemic era when people were quite nervous about going to Disney and capacity levels were sharply decreased to find this kind of thing. This is not looking good, and it's across everything. It's across wait times. It's across crowd levels. They've got photos here showing just how empty the parks are. They've got wait times for basically every ride there is. It's all very impressive, very, very impressive. But essentially what it comes down to is that Disney World is not looking great for the summer. So we'll see what happens, but things do not look great. Again, this article goes into massive detail. I highly recommend that everybody go check this out. Go click on that link. All right, so let's go now to this Zelda thing. I wanted to set that context up for you because you have to understand that Disney is kind of on the ropes right now. Disney World, that is. Well, Disney at large as well. But you have to know that for you to understand that Universal Studios is truly coming after Disney. Let's go now to an article all the way back from December 28th, 2020, but it's important. This is from Orlando Park Stop. It is by Alicia Stella, possible Zelda ride concept to replace Lost Continent in Islands of Adventure. going all the way back to 2020. This was being reported. Now, the key thing to know about this article is that it goes back into concept art that was done, concept work that was done for Super Nintendo World. But it goes back before they had Epic Universe on the way. And once Epic Universe was greenlit, then the Mario side of everything they were planning went to Epic Universe. And so, many people thought, well, Zelda maybe will go over there, and they went with How to Train Your Dragon. And so then people thought, well, maybe they just won't do Zelda. Oh, no. They definitely are, and this article was on it all the way back in 2020. We need to give them major kudos for having this. I want to show you some stuff real quick, because this is lining up with what I was told this morning from a source who is highly connected to the theme park industry and to particularly not necessarily the attractions. I also don't want to give this person away, but more so the motifs. Let's just say that. The work that goes into building these things so that they look right, so that they look thematically correct. We'll leave it there. Now, what I have been told is that the Zelda expansion for Universal Studios is going to be far bigger, I think, than most of us anticipated. And the reason for that is quite simple. Super Nintendo World has become just a tremendous hit. It is expected to be a huge hit at Epic Universe. The Super Mario Brothers movie is going to land almost certainly in the top 3, top 4 animated films of all time. Mario and Nintendo have never been hotter, and Zelda is now exploding. So let me tell you what we're finding out. First of all, you see this diagram here. This is showing a very cool design for a ride that I'm told, and by the way, this is speculation. This is rumor. I cannot verify it. I have not seen the official documents beyond what's in this article. But I can only go off a source that's been right so many times and share it with you. And we'll just have fun, right? We'll just have fun and talk about this. And if it comes to fruition, you can say, Pro got it again. And if it doesn't, it was fun to talk about. But I give some credence to this. This is from about 6 to 8 months ago in terms of when this individual was aware of what's going on. The idea is that Zelda is going to have about 4 attractions, is what I'm told. 3 possibly for the phase 1. And then there's an expansion phase 2 that could happen that would add an additional attraction. This is one that I think is going to be an absolute showstopper. And by the way, they are allegedly aiming for about 1,800 riders per hour, which would be a phenomenal number and really would indicate that they expect this to be very popular and needs an extremely high capacity. Essentially what you're looking at, though, is a ride in which guests would get onto a boat that is not on a track, well, not a track of any sort that would be detectable. The boat would move around. You ride through Hyrule. You're taking a little adventure out of, I believe it's Kokiri Forest. And you're just having a good time. And then at some point in the attraction, you come across a bad guy kidnapping Princess Zelda. So I guess that would be Ganon. And you get thrown then, as part of this encounter, into a waterfall. And just as you're about to tip over the waterfall, we're looking at the patent, by the way, for this. In case you guys are wondering how legit is this, we're looking at the patent information out of the article. And as you're about to go over the waterfall then, you would be rescued by Link. Not sure how, but your boat would be picked up. You, of course, would think that you're being lifted out of the waterfall, which you are, but it's all planned. It's all part of the ride. But as you begin to tip over the waterfall, and I'm assuming there'd be a lot of drama there, excitement. Of course, nobody's going to actually go over it. They'll have tons of redundancies to prevent that. In the same way that when Expedition Everest goes backwards, that piece of track has to flip so that you go in the right direction. They're never going to do something that would cause you to be harmed. But you'd be picked up, and then you would go into a completely separate type of ride, which was described to me as being sort of a hanging ride like Peter Pan in Magic Kingdom, but a bit more thrilling. And more importantly, you would be wearing glasses, and it was described as sort of like a Ratatouille experience where you go into various screens, but that's mixed in with physical sets as well, like the Spider-Man ride that already exists, but again, this one hanging and a bit more thrilling. And then it ultimately leads to you, Link, and Princess Zelda defeating Ganon or the bad guy. I'm assuming it's Ganon. That's my speculation on that part. But that would be an awesome ride, especially if there is a thrill level associated with it. And you could easily see how a ride like this could have some sort of drop in it that would be akin to the Rise of the Resistance attraction and its drop that it has. I'm also told that this is actually aimed at being better than Rise of the Resistance, which would be one heck of a thing if they can pull it off. Now, the reason I bring all of this up is simply because we're getting some information about it. We're getting some details. Also, let me say this. In regards to Poseidon's Fury and what will happen with that attraction in the Lost Continent area of Islands of Adventure. Again, what is being told to me is that this is going to be turned into, they're going to keep the building. They're going to retheme it, keep the building, not drop everything. They can do this without having to change a whole lot on the exterior. On the interior, it's going to be a different story, but on the interior, and I really don't know how this is going to work. So folks, if you could, drop a comment down below and tell me what you think, how this would work. I don't understand it quite yet. But it's being described to me as equal parts video game, theater experience, and escape room. And I don't know how any of those, I don't know how that all comes together. I don't know how you can do an escape room experience with a large group, and I don't know how all that can be combined with video games. So drop a comment down below and let me know. And in addition to that, and let's go to Google Earth for a minute. I want to show you guys this. So here's Poseidon's Fury, and that's probably going to stay. Over here, though, we have what in the world? Oh, it's got the clouds on. Hang on, folks. Hang on. Let's turn off the animated clouds. There we go. Funny. All right, so over here we've got what used to be Sinbad's, the giant theater show, and I'm told that's probably going away. Now, beyond that, we get into the big expansion, and we've got this parking lot back here that can be used. We went over this before. Just know that what I'm being told is that's probably going to be themed into the Lost Woods with the great Deku Tree back there, but I am told that that's not going to be a ride, that the Deku Tree will not be a ride. And then these buildings that would have to be moved, it was explained to me that those would likely, what they're used for, would likely be transplanted to let's see what it says, South Street and Fifth Avenue, the corner of South Street and Fifth Avenue. So folks, go find that on a map and you'll find out where likely those things are going. Now, again, this is speculation a bit, but I think we're getting to the point now where everybody knows Zelda's coming. We just sort of know it. The other key thing to know about this is when we're talking about how big of an expansion this is, you have to understand that this is, in total, slightly bigger than all of the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. You could fit like 3 of the Seuss's Landing in there. This is a huge area. I don't think people understand just how big this can be. And if Universal Studios does it right, it's a huge threat to the Walt Disney World Resort because they don't have an answer. They don't have an answer at all. And let me show you how this is being spun. Okay, from the website Mediaite, which we know is a political website, but sometimes we have to use these to be able to look at entertainment and what's going on. This by Sarah Rumpf. Disney CEO wasn't bluffing. Robert Iger cancels plans for $1 billion office complex in Orlando. And yes, that's true. Josh D'Amaro did basically point out that this was Iger's decision to cancel this Imagineering plan. But it's being presented in a very strange way. Let me read just a couple paragraphs and then I'll explain what's going on here. Disney CEO Robert Iger wasn't bluffing earlier this month. Makes him sound tough, right? That's the framing. When he said on an investor's call that the company was rethinking its plans to increase its investments in Florida amid retaliation from Governor Ron DeSantis. Now Disney is canceling plans to build a massive, nearly $1 billion office complex in Orlando, costing the state more than 2,000 six-figure jobs. DeSantis' ongoing war with Mickey Mouse began just over a year ago when then CEO Bob Chapek issued a single press release objecting to this parental rights and education bill. Now, of course, that's not actually true at all. I mean, this is just false. This is probably purposefully false. Chapek did issue a press release. He also vowed to go after the state of Florida legally and politically, and he did so at basically Bob Iger's insistence and the people around Bob Iger. This also then led to protests. There was also the release of the Reimagine Tomorrow videos, which were just frankly damning to the company. This significantly downplays what Disney was involved in. It goes on to talk about some things and just some really ridiculous things. For example, it says, it is important to note that the RCID, that's the Reedy Creek Improvement District, was not unique and not a tax break. It was very, very unique. There's no special district in the country like it. And when they say it's not a tax break, come on. So this is definitely an article that is meant to persuade you not to believe what is actually real. And I mean that from an objective standpoint, from a purely factual standpoint. It's just, this article is not presenting the truth. Whether they're doing that on purpose or not, who knows? But what's important is the spin that's coming from the media. Because at the same time that Universal Studios is preparing to open an entire theme park, and at the same time that they're preparing to do an expansion at Zelda, which I estimate is probably going to be in excess of $1 billion in terms of investment. And if you now that you've heard some of the things about the attractions, this is going to be huge. You're talking about a hybrid attraction where you're doing like a Navi River journey through Hyrule. Then you run into a conflict. You get thrown towards a waterfall. Then you get lifted up via a glider system. And it's being presented to me that this is going to use augmented reality. You're talking about just an amazing attraction. And Disney is not sending their Imagineers anymore to Florida. They're not investing in having their Imagineering complex there. And here's the reason why. This is what's not being told, and this is how the media is spinning it. Disney's out of money. We talked about this at length in the video about Kathleen Kennedy, and so many of you out there don't believe she's actually leaving. And I understand your skepticism. I apologize for all the times that you've been told, by various sources out there, and probably well-intentioned sources, that she's leaving and then she never does. But things are different now, and it's the first time I'm reporting that. We looked at the numbers. Jonas J. Campbell is doing some serious investigative reporting and investigations into Disney at this time. Mexican Iron Man is looking into this. Valiant Renegade is looking into this. It's looking right now, and I'm not presenting this as an expert yet, but it's looking like Disney has a very small amount of operating assets available to them, drastically less than in the past. And they're looking at really bad quarters coming up. And what's happening here is that Universal Studios is getting ready to bring it at the Walt Disney World Resort. They smell blood in the water. And it does not look like Disney has a response. And the best they can do is spin it as being an attack against Florida or a defense against a mean bully in Florida. When in reality, the company is trying to scrape every penny they can to buy Hulu. And they don't have pennies left. And that is a very different story than the one the media is reporting. But we plan to break that wide open very soon. So hang tight. And in the meantime, let's enjoy the fact that Universal Studios is going to, we believe, bring one heck of a Zelda land to you. I cannot wait for this hybrid attraction. I'm intrigued by what in the world a huge Poseidon's Fury show building could be used for in terms of a theater, an escape room, and a video game combination, whatever in the world that looks like. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you guys. This is also important. I was told that in developing that particular attraction, that they have actually brought in some of the Nintendo game designers to help the theme park attraction designers with it. And, again, rumor and speculation, but coming from a source that has been right. And I talk to this person often in regards to theme parks, really trust them. Anyway, I'm excited about what's coming to Central Florida. I'm not excited by what Disney is bringing to Central Florida. And Disney can make all the excuses in the world. But the only excuse that's going to work is going to be when they work for consumers and deliver products that everybody wants, both in movies, streaming, theme parks, and everywhere else. Until they do, it's looking like now even Disney World is not impervious to the flaws of Disney. Folks, if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe. And you can stick it to the algorithms when you click it. Please drop a comment down below. We'd love to read what you're saying. I especially want to hear how you think they could make this thing work with Poseidon's Fury. Very interesting. And you know what, folks? Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, keep being kind, and keep having fun.
Floral, it's time for you to walk the plank.
What? Why?
Cuz you haven't subscribed to WDW Pro yet. Nor bookmark thatparkplace.com on your web browser to get great articles from great contributors.
What?